The stars had always been a source of wonder for humanity. For centuries, people on Earth looked up at the night sky and dreamed of reaching beyond it. At last, after centuries of progress, humanity broke free from its homeworld. Ships sailed between planets, colonies grew on distant worlds, and Earth was no longer alone in the dark. But the galaxy was not empty. Humanity was not the first to rise into the stars. Long before the first human rocket, empires of aliens had ruled the void. They had their own councils, their own laws, and their own wars. To them, humanity was new, weak, and unimportant. The alien empires called themselves Elders of the Galaxy. They had walked among the stars for thousands of years, and they saw humans as little more than children. When humans first appeared in the galactic councils, the older races did not greet them as equals. Instead, they gave polite smiles and quiet warnings. Humans were told to grow slowly, to remain in their own corner of space, and to respect the greater civilizations. At first, Earth agreed. Humanity knew it could not challenge powers that had starfleets larger than entire human populations. So humanity bowed its head, nodded to the warnings, and worked silently. They built colonies on nearby worlds. They sent explorers into the deep. They traded with friendly species, though always with restrictions set by others. Still, humanity hoped that time would change things. Perhaps one day the aliens would see them not as children but as partners. Yet years passed and nothing changed. Every meeting in the Galactic Senate ended the same way. Human representatives raised their voices about unfair taxes, about raids on colonies, about pirates armed with alien weapons, and every time the Senate ignored them. "You must learn patience," the elder races said. "You are not yet ready. On the colonies, life was harder. Human farmers on the planet Halden worked day and night to grow food, only for alien tax collectors to arrive in massive warships. They demanded impossible amounts of harvest. If humans resisted, the collectors threatened bombardment. On the mining world of Telros, children grew up working underground, only to watch their ore shipped away for prices set by alien corporations. There were stories whispered in dark rooms of alien soldiers who treated humans not as equals, but as tools. Small villages were forced to house garrisons of alien troops, and families were made to give up their best supplies. The Galactic Council turned a blind eye. Human leaders on Earth debated endlessly. Some argued for patience. If we keep peace, if we show kindness, perhaps one day they will respect us. Others whispered about resistance, about preparing for the future. But in the public eye, Earth always chose diplomacy, and so humanity endured. Yet even in silence, something was changing. In hidden shipyards orbiting the gas giant Soria, engineers worked in secret. They built engines faster than any alien could imagine. They studied every insult, every theft, every battle lost, and they learned. Soldiers trained not just to fight, but to fight without fear. Scientists unlocked old Earth theories and turned them into weapons and shields. On the surface, humanity looked quiet, peaceful, harmless. But beneath, a fire was growing. One such spark burned in Captain Elias Marin, a young officer of the United Earth Fleet. He was stationed on the colony world of Vera, where alien raiders often struck without warning. His fleet was small, only 3 ships, and their weapons were outdated compared to the mighty alien cruisers. Yet Marin never surrendered to despair. He watched the colonists rebuild after every attack. Farmers returned to their fields, children went back to schools, and miners dug once more. The aliens could destroy buildings, but they could not break human will. Marin realized then that the true strength of his people was not in their ships or their guns, but in their spirit. Still, even spirit had limits. One evening, Marin walked through the colony streets after a raid. Fires burned in the distance, and families gathered to count their missing. An old woman sat by the road holding the hand of her grandson, who stared silently at the stars. Marin knelt beside her. "They say we must wait," the old woman whispered, her voice heavy with sorrow. "They say humans must be patient. But tell me, Captain, how long must we wait?" Marin had no answer. He only placed his hand on hers and promised quietly, "Not forever." Across the galaxy, small moments like this played out. Colonists asked when they would be free of humiliation. Soldiers asked when they would stop fighting with outdated weapons. Families asked when the galaxy would finally listen. The answer was always the same: wait. But a storm was building. The elder races failed to see it. They looked at humanity and saw weakness. They mocked humans for their short lifespans, for their fragile bodies, for their lack of ancient history, but they did not see the hidden unity growing between Earth and its colonies. They did not see the secret projects, the silent preparation. They did not see what happens when patience ends. For now, the galaxy was calm. Humanity bowed its head, carried its burdens, and endured the silence of injustice. The elder races were comfortable in their thrones, believing the humans would never rise. But in the quiet corners of human space, whispers grew louder. Engineers tested engines that could bend light itself. Generals practiced war plans with precision no alien mind could predict. Colonists swore to protect one another, even if it cost their lives. And in every heart, the same thought echoed: we will not wait forever. The silent struggle of humanity was not weakness. It was a forge. Every insult hammered their spirit into steel. Every loss sharpened their resolve. Every wound became a scar that reminded them of what was taken. The galaxy did not yet know it, but the day was coming when silence would break. And when it did, the universe would tremble. For many years, humans endured the quiet suffering of the galaxy. They bore the insults, the raids, and the heavy taxes. Their leaders spoke of patience, of peace, and of waiting for respect. But history has always shown that patience has limits. There comes a time when silence ends, when a people who have been pushed too far finally stand. That moment came without warning. The colony of Aurora Prime was the jewel of humanity's outer settlements. It was a bright green world with shining rivers, rich soil, and cities filled with families who had left Earth to build new lives. More than 20 million humans lived there, working together to make the planet bloom. To the humans, Aurora Prime was hope. To the alien coalition that ruled the neighboring sectors, it was a challenge. The coalition was a union of three powerful empires, old and arrogant. They saw Aurora Prime's success as an insult, as proof that humans were growing too fast. They decided to act. One cold morning, without any declaration of war, a fleet of alien warships appeared above Aurora Prime. Their weapons glowed with energy, and their voices filled the human comm channels with cruel demands. By order of the coalition, the alien commander said, this colony is guilty of violating expansion laws. Your people will surrender. Your cities will be emptied. Resistance will not be tolerated. The humans of Aurora Prime begged for mercy. The governor of the colony sent desperate messages to the Galactic Senate, pleading for help. But no answer came. The Senate chambers, filled with the elder races, simply ignored the cries of humanity. To them, Aurora Prime was not worth a war. When the humans refused to abandon their homes, the alien fleet struck. Energy beams rained down on the cities. Towers crumbled, forests burned, and millions of innocent people vanished in a storm of fire. The defenders of the colony, small ships of the United Earth Fleet, fought bravely, but they were no match for the coalition armada. Within hours, Aurora Prime was silent. News of the tragedy spread like wildfire. Across Earth and the colonies, people watched in horror as images of the destroyed cities flashed across their screens. Families wept for the lost. Children asked why no one had protected them. And everywhere, the same question rose. Why does the galaxy treat us this way? In the Galactic Senate, humanity's ambassador Lyra Chen stood before the assembly of alien leaders. Her voice trembled with grief as she spoke. 20 million of our people are gone, she said. Children, families, workers, innocent lives. We ask you, will you allow this? Will you punish those who destroyed Aurora Prime? The chamber was silent. Then one elder, a tall alien with shimmering scales, spoke. Humans must learn their place, he said coldly. This is the price of overreaching. You should not have built so many colonies. You were warned. The Senate moved to the next discussion as if nothing had happened. That was the moment when something inside humanity changed. For centuries, humans had bowed their heads. They had endured the insults, the taxes, the raids. They had told themselves that peace was worth any price. But Aurora Prime was too heavy a price. Humanity realized all at once that diplomacy had failed. On Earth, millions filled the streets. They carried the banners of their lost colony and shouted for justice. On Mars, miners refused to work until the government promised action. On the frontier, soldiers swore oaths of vengeance. Everywhere the same thought spread like lightning. We will not be silent anymore. Captain Elias Marin, stationed on Vera, watched the news with clenched fists. He remembered the old woman who once asked him how long they must wait. Now he knew the answer. Not forever, he whispered again. But this time it was not a promise of patience. It was a vow of war. The leaders of Earth gathered in a hidden chamber beneath the United Council Hall. For years they had argued between patience and resistance. But as they looked at the images of Aurora Prime's ruins, their arguments ended. President Arya Solon, her voice calm but filled with steel, spoke the words that would change human history. "The galaxy has mistaken our patience for weakness," she said. "They believe we will never rise. They are wrong. From this day forward, humanity will no longer beg. We will no longer wait. We will fight, and we will make the galaxy remember who we are." The council agreed. The order was given. Hidden shipyards, long kept secret, opened their gates. Fleets of advanced warships, disguised for decades as simple freighters, revealed their true power. Engineers activated weapons never before seen by alien eyes. Soldiers trained not for defense but for conquest. It was not only leaders and soldiers who prepared. Farmers volunteered to supply food for the armies. Scientists left their labs to design new machines. Children carried the memory of Aurora Prime like a flame in their hearts. Humanity, for the first time, was united in one purpose. The galaxy did not understand. Alien empires saw the humans' anger and laughed. "What can they do?" The elders said. "Their fleets are small. Their worlds are young. They are nothing compared to us." But they were wrong. What the galaxy did not know was that humanity had been preparing all along. While the elders mocked them, humans studied. While the Senate ignored them, humans built. While colonies suffered, humans hardened their spirits, and now, with Aurora Prime's ashes still burning, all that preparation would rise. Elias Marin stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the new fleet form around him. Sleek vessels with engines that glowed like suns, weapons hidden behind armored plates, and crews who carried the fire of vengeance in their eyes. They were not the old fleets of defense. They were something new, something the galaxy had never seen. "This is not the end of humanity," Marin told his crew. "This is the beginning. They thought Aurora Prime would break us. Instead, it has awakened us." Across every colony, across every ship, the same words echoed. Humanity was no longer waiting. Humanity was no longer silent. The breaking point had been reached. And in the dark halls of alien power, whispers began. Some laughed, some scoffed, but a few felt the first flickers of fear. For they remembered old legends, stories of species who endured too much before rising in fury, and they wondered, what if the humans are one of them? The answer was coming. For the first time in galactic history, the humans were not begging for a seat at the table. They were standing to take it. And the universe, though it did not yet know it, would soon tremble. The silence after Aurora Prime did not last long. Across the stars, whispers of human anger spread like fire through dry grass. At first, the elder empires dismissed it. They told themselves that humans were too weak, too young, too fragile to truly resist. But deep inside human space, something powerful was stirring. Humanity had reached its breaking point, and now it was rising. On the barren world of Vera, Captain Elias Marin stood on the deck of his ship, watching as fleets gathered in the skies above. Dozens of vessels arrived from hidden shipyards, sleek and sharp, unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. These were not the old freighters and patrol ships that aliens mocked. These were warships built in secret, their hulls layered with new armor, their engines burning with a strange blue light. Some were massive carriers designed to release swarms of smaller craft. Others were destroyers with weapons hidden under armored shields. All of them carried crews who were no longer willing to wait, no longer willing to bow. The human fleet was not the largest in the galaxy, but it was different. Each ship carried technology built from years of quiet learning. Humans had studied alien weapons and found ways to improve them. They had tested new engines that could outmaneuver even the fastest enemy cruiser. And most of all, they had trained their crews not to fight as individuals, but as one. When the first alien scouts entered human space, they expected to see panic. Instead, they found coordinated defense. Entire fleets moved as if guided by a single thought. A human captain on one ship did not need to explain his plan to another. They trusted each other, acted with unity, and struck with precision. The aliens were stunned. "They fight like a single body," one commander reported. "Every ship moves as if it knows the other's mind." It was true. Humanity had built a system of shared data links, connecting every vessel, every soldier, and every commander. It was more than technology, it was trust. Aliens often fought with pride, each captain seeking glory. Humans fought for each other. In the colony of Vera, colonists who once farmed the soil now built fortresses. Every town became a stronghold, every factory a supply hub. Children carried water to soldiers, elders shared knowledge of the land, and families opened their homes to serve as shelters. One alien observer, hidden in the hills, watched in disbelief. "They are not afraid," he whispered. "They are preparing." The coalition, arrogant as ever, laughed when they heard of human preparations. "Let them build their little walls," their leader said. "We will crush them as we crushed Aurora Prime." But the coalition was wrong. The first true test came when a fleet of alien raiders struck the mining world of Telros. They expected to find an easy victory as before. Instead, they found skies filled with human warships. The battle that followed shocked the galaxy. Human ships did not fight in the slow, heavy style of the Elder Empires. They darted, turned, and struck from unexpected angles. Squadrons of smaller craft swarmed the enemy, cutting supply lines and disabling engines. Larger ships shielded the weaker ones, moving in perfect formation. Elias Marin's destroyer, the Resolute, led the charge. He commanded with calm precision, his voice steady even as enemy fire lit the skies. "Focus on their engines," he ordered. "Do not waste fire on their shields. Take their movement first and the rest will fall." His strategy worked. One by one, the alien cruisers were left stranded, unable to move. Human boarding teams stormed the ships, disabling weapons and capturing crews. By the time the battle ended, the coalition fleet was in ruins. The news spread across the stars. For the first time in living memory, a young species had defeated an elder fleet in open combat. The galaxy trembled with disbelief. But the rising storm was not only in the fleets. On Earth, in hidden laboratories, scientists revealed weapons never before seen. Massive rail cannons that could pierce the armor of ancient dreadnoughts. Energy shields that bent and shimmered like water, deflecting attacks others thought unstoppable. Engines that carried ships faster than any alien chart had recorded. These were not stolen ideas. They were human inventions, born of creativity and desperation. Where the elder races relied on tradition, humans relied on adaptation. Dr. Leora Vance, one of the leading scientists, explained it best. "We are not stronger," she said. "We are not older. But we learn faster. Every time they strike us, we rise with something new. That is our gift." On the ground, too, humanity shocked its enemies. Colonists who once fled from raids now stood their ground. Villages became traps. Streets turned into battlefields designed with cunning precision. When coalition troops landed on the frontier world of Kirill, they expected surrender. Instead, they found citizens armed with hidden weapons fighting beside trained soldiers. Farmers used their tractors to block roads. Miners collapsed tunnels on enemy troops, and children carried supplies through hidden passages. The aliens withdrew in panic, reporting back with fear in their voices. They do not break. Even their civilians fight. The galaxy began to take notice. Neutral species who had once ignored humanity now watched with interest. Some whispered that the humans might actually survive. Others, fearful, closed their borders, hoping to avoid the storm. The elder empires grew nervous. They sent spies, they spread lies, they tried to divide human colonies from one another, but nothing worked. The memory of Aurora Prime had bound humanity together tighter than ever. President Arya Solon addressed the people from Earth. Her words were carried to every colony, every ship, every soldier. "They thought Aurora Prime would end us," she said. "But it has awakened us. We fight not for conquest, but for survival. We fight not for glory, but for freedom. We fight because we will never bow again." Her speech lit a fire in every human heart. Elias Marin felt it as well. Standing on the bridge of the Resolute, he looked at his crew. Some were young, barely out of training. Others were veterans of raids and losses. All of them carried the same look in their eyes, a quiet, steady determination. "We are the storm," Marin told them. "Every battle we fight, every victory we win is not just for us. It is for Aurora Prime. It is for every colony that suffered. And it is for every child who must never grow up in chains." The crew answered with a cheer that shook the walls of the ship. The coalition tried once more to strike, sending a massive fleet to the borders of human space. But this time the outcome was different. Human fleets met them head-on, not hiding, not running. The battle was fierce, but the humans fought with unity that the coalition could not match. When the smoke cleared, it was the coalition that retreated. The galaxy trembled. The storm had risen. Humanity, once dismissed as weak and unimportant, was now the most dangerous force in the stars, and still the fire burned brighter, for humanity had only begun its war. The galaxy had always seen itself as unshakable. Empires rose and fell, but the elders, the ancient rulers of the stars, believed their power eternal. For thousands of years they had looked down on younger species, guiding some, crushing others. Nothing had ever truly threatened their rule, until the humans rose. The storm that began at Aurora Prime was no longer just whispers of rebellion. It was now thunder that echoed across the stars. Humanity was striking back, and with each victory the galaxy trembled a little more. On the frontier world of Kirill, the sky burned with fire. Human fleets descended upon a massive alien stronghold, a fortress that had ruled over the sector for centuries. The Coalition had believed it untouchable. Walls of defense satellites circled it, fleets patrolled its skies, and armies guarded its surface. But the humans came anyway. Captain Elias Marin stood on the bridge of his destroyer, the Resolute, as the battle unfolded. His fleet moved like a blade cutting through the night. Smaller ships darted ahead, targeting the satellites. Massive carriers released swarms of strike craft that filled the void with streaks of light. "Bring us closer," Marin ordered calmly. "Their defenses are strong, but their coordination is weak." "We strike where they least expect." The Resolute surged forward, its cannons blazing. Explosions rippled across the enemy lines. Within hours, defenses that had stood for centuries crumbled. The Coalition fortress fell. Across the galaxy, news spread like lightning. The humans had defeated one of the strongest strongholds of the old empires. Fear gripped the elders. In the great halls of the Galactic Senate, voices rose in panic. Ambassadors of ancient species shouted across the chamber. "They should never have been allowed to rise," one cried. "They are dangerous. If we do not stop them now, none of us will be safe," another warned. But others, more cautious, whispered of a different truth. "Perhaps it is too late," they said. "Perhaps we should seek peace before they grow even stronger." The Senate, once a place of calm arrogance, was now filled with uncertainty. On human worlds, however, there was no uncertainty. Colonists who once lived in fear now stood tall. Cities rebuilt after raids now thrived with pride. Children carried banners of their fallen colonies, swearing to keep their memory alive. Every victory added to their unity. Every defeat of the Coalition was celebrated not with cruelty, but with determination. Humanity was no longer begging for a seat in the galaxy. Humanity was carving one. One story spread far and wide, told again and again across human space and even whispered among aliens. It was the story of the Battle of Lornus Reach. The Coalition had gathered a massive fleet, larger than anything humanity had yet faced. Hundreds of warships bristling with weapons advanced on human space. The Coalition commanders were certain this would end the rising storm once and for all. But when the fleets clashed, the unexpected happened. Human ships, though fewer in number, moved with perfect unity. They shifted formations so smoothly that alien commanders thought they were being tricked by illusions. Swarms of small strike craft pierced through gaps in enemy lines, disabling engines and scattering formations. Larger human ships took blows meant to destroy them but held their ground, protecting their smaller allies. Elias Marin's Resolute became a symbol of the battle. Outnumbered and surrounded, it fought with relentless precision, crippling 3 enemy cruisers before breaking free. By the end of the fight, the Coalition fleet lay shattered. The galaxy trembled. For the first time in thousands of years, the elder races realized their power was not unshakable. Aliens who once mocked humanity began to change their tone. Some admired their courage. Others spoke of fear, whispering warnings in the shadows. The humans are no longer bound. They will not stop. Merchants from neutral species quietly reached out to trade with humanity. Small, weaker species, long oppressed by the elders, sent envoys to Earth, offering friendship and alliances. They saw in humanity a chance for freedom. The elders noticed this with growing dread. If humans continued to win allies, the balance of the galaxy would shatter forever. On Earth, President Arya Solon watched reports from across the stars. She saw images of fallen fortresses, defeated fleets, and liberated worlds. Her people cheered her name, calling her the voice of humanity's rise, but she did not speak of conquest. Instead, she reminded her people of their purpose. "We fight not to rule but to survive," she told them. "We will not become what they are. We will not enslave or destroy. But we will never again be ignored. Let the galaxy tremble if it must, for humanity will stand free." Her words echoed in every colony, every fleet, every heart. In the coalition capitals, fear turned to desperation. Leaders who had once laughed at humans now shouted in rage. They ordered larger fleets, harsher punishments, and desperate attacks. But their actions only weakened them further. Their people, watching the humans fight with courage and unity, began to question their own rulers. Whispers of rebellion spread within the coalition itself. Some alien soldiers, tired of fighting humans who refused to surrender, deserted. Others even joined humanity, believing their cause just. The storm was no longer only human. It was spreading. On the frontier, Elias Marin felt the change. He saw alien ships approach, not with weapons ready, but with signals of peace. He saw alien civilians cheer as human fleets liberated their worlds from oppressive rulers. One night, as he stood alone in his quarters, he thought of Aurora Prime. He remembered the ruins, the cries, the silence, and he realized something powerful. Aurora Prime had not been the end of humanity. It had been the beginning. Now every victory, every step forward was built on the memory of that loss. Humanity's pain had become the galaxy's storm. The universe trembled, not only because humans were strong, but because they were unpredictable. The elders had expected humans to break and vanish. Instead, they had risen stronger. They had expected humans to conquer with cruelty. Instead, they fought for survival and freedom. No empire knew what humanity would do next. That uncertainty was more terrifying than any weapon. And so, across the stars, a single truth spread: never break the humans. For if you did, they would rise. And when they rose, the universe itself would shake. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. What began as whispers of human anger after Aurora Prime had grown into a storm that shook the stars. Fleets once dismissed as weak now carved paths through ancient empires. Colonies that once trembled under the weight of alien oppression now stood free, proud, and united. And at the center of it all was humanity. On the bridge of the flagship Resolute, Captain Elias Marin watched the activity across the galaxy. The coalition had collapsed, one empire after another succumbing to the human storm. Ships were no longer just fighting for survival. They were liberating worlds. "Look at that," said Lieutenant Mara, pointing to a holographic map of human space. "Every sector we touch, the people rise with us. They are joining us willingly." Marin nodded. He had seen this coming, but the scale still amazed him. Not just humans, but alien species, once oppressed, now stood beside them. Together, they formed a force unlike any the galaxy had known. Humanity had become a symbol, not of fear, but of hope. On Earth, President Arya Solon prepared for the first true Galactic Council that would include all liberated systems. The halls of the United Council Hall had never been filled with such a mixture of humans and aliens. Delegates from hundreds of worlds had arrived, some cautious, some eager, and others wary. Solon addressed the assembly, her voice calm yet strong. "We did not rise to conquer," she said. "We did not strike for revenge. We rose because we were forced to, because we could no longer remain silent while injustice reigned. Today we stand not as rulers, but as partners. Today we offer a new path for the galaxy, one built on respect, unity, and freedom." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Even some elders, those who had once mocked humanity, felt the weight of truth in her words. Across the colonies, people celebrated not only victory, but cooperation. On Mars, a city built entirely by human settlers now welcomed alien scientists and engineers who had joined the alliance. On Vera, children ran through streets once damaged by raids, now repaired and filled with laughter. Everywhere, the message was clear. Humanity had not changed into the conquerors some feared. They had become leaders in hope, not oppression. Yet the memory of Aurora Prime remained. Every victory was tempered with respect for the lives lost. Humanity had risen, but they had not forgotten. In space, fleets continued their patrols, ensuring safety and stability. Smaller groups of humans were sent to aid colonies recovering from the oppression of the old empires. Engineers worked alongside alien technicians to rebuild cities, restore trade, and secure borders. Where once humans fought for survival, now they built bridges of understanding. Captain Marin reflected on this as his fleet passed through the liberated sectors. He remembered the first raids on Vera, the cries of Aurora Prime, the smoke of destroyed colonies. He thought of the young soldiers who had never known peace until now, and the children who had grown up dreaming of freedom. "We have come far," he said quietly to his first officer. "And yet this is only the beginning. The galaxy must learn to live with us and we with it." Not all reactions were peaceful. Some alien factions, once loyal to the collapsed empires, resisted humanity's rise. But even these encounters were different. Where war had been the first instinct, negotiation became the tool. Human diplomats, backed by the undeniable success of their fleets, approached conflicts with reason rather than force. One such negotiation took place on the world of Therion, a planet torn by civil unrest after the collapse of its former rulers. Human envoys met with the local leaders, listening to grievances, offering solutions, and promising security. Within weeks, Therion was stabilized, and its people chose to join the human-led alliance willingly. The galaxy began to see that humanity's strength was not only in its fleets or weapons, it was in its ability to unite, to inspire, and to lead with fairness. Even among the former elders, change took root. Some sought to rebuild trust with humanity, hoping to remain relevant in the new order. Others, humbled by their defeat, chose quiet exile or to become advisors rather than rulers. The galaxy was shifting, and humans were at the center of that transformation. On Earth, scientists continued to push the boundaries of knowledge, creating engines capable of reaching distant systems faster, energy shields stronger than ever, and technology to improve the lives of millions. But always, Solon reminded them, our power is not for domination. Our power is to protect, to create, and to inspire. Among the citizens, stories of bravery and resilience spread across the stars. The tale of Aurora Prime became a legend, a reminder of what humanity had endured and how it had risen. Children learned not only about battles, but about courage, unity, and the importance of standing up against injustice. Elias Marin visited the rebuilt colony of Aurora Prime, now a thriving city with humans and aliens living side by side. He walked through the streets, greeted by people who once feared annihilation, but now smiled with hope. At the central plaza, a statue was raised, not of a weapon or a soldier, but of a family representing the strength, love, and resilience of all humans. "Never forget," Marin said to the crowd, "that we rise strongest when we protect each other. That is the true power of humanity." The galaxy, once ruled by fear and ancient hierarchies, was learning a new lesson. Human patience had been mistaken for weakness. Humanity's rise had been unexpected, unpredictable, and unstoppable. But now the lesson was clear. Strength comes not only from power, but from unity, courage, and a commitment to justice. Even the most cynical species began to see it. In quiet corners of space, alien leaders whispered to one another, "The humans are not like the others. They fight, yes, but they also build, they also protect, they also forgive." The elders who survived the storms of war understood the truth. The galaxy had changed forever. In the vastness of space, Captain Marin gazed at the stars. He thought of all the battles fought, all the colonies lost and saved, all the people who had stood beside him. The humans had broken, yes, but not in surrender. They had broken only in patience, only in silence. And now, having reached the limits of endurance, they had risen. The universe had trembled at their storm. But now, as humans built a new order, it also began to see hope. President Solon addressed the assembly of the Galactic Council one final time, her voice steady. "We have been tested, and we have risen. We offer a hand of friendship to all who wish to join us, a shield to those who need protection, and a voice to those who were silenced. Together we can create a galaxy not of fear, but of fairness. This is our dawn, and it is not the end of our story. It is the beginning of a brighter future." Humanity had won, but not through cruelty or conquest. They had won by rising after being broken, by turning loss into strength, despair into hope, and silence into unity. The stars were no longer empty or unyielding. They were alive with possibilities, with species working together, building, exploring, and learning. Humanity stood at the center, not as rulers, but as partners, respected, admired, and remembered. And somewhere across the galaxy, a single lesson was whispered: never underestimate the humans, for if they are broken, they rise. If they are challenged, they endure. And when the universe trembles, it is because humanity has finally stood tall.